How is it going, guys? We are continuing on with the modifications to the FRS. We've got another product from GeraldJustProjects, the same company that makes the 17 Plus cluster retrofit kit that allowed me to install the digital cluster into my FRS. They also make the track box for these cars that let you turn the pedal dance mode instantly on, turn your ABS off, turn the seatbelt chime off, and a few other things as well. If you guys are interested in those videos, I'll link them down below. But today we have their IPS gauge that gives you access to a multitude of different gauges and information that you can get from these sensors in your engine. Things like your water temp, your oil temp, the position of your throttle pedal, brake pedal, your steering wheel, your AFR, and a ton of other things that we'll go through later on in the video. Now this installs into your side vent, so you can install it whether you have a left or right-hand drive car, and it works by routing to the OBD2 port. Now it's super easy to install, but before we can get it in the car, we need to set it up and configure it how we want. So we're gonna run up to my desk and I'll show you guys exactly what we need to do.
On the product page, we're gonna scroll almost all the way to the bottom until you see that blue download page. Go ahead and click on that. And this is where you're gonna find the most up-to-date Flasher app and firmware that we're both gonna need to download.
Once we have the software downloaded and open, we can plug the gauge into the computer using the supplied micro SD cable. We can then press the button on the back to put it into USB mode. We're gonna go to the COM ports drop-down menu on the bottom right here. It's usually gonna be the bottom one. You can hit read settings, and this is gonna show how the gauge is currently configured. If you're doing this for the first time, you're probably gonna want to update the firmware, so you can download that on the website. Hit select firmware, find the right file, and then hit the flash firmware button. You can see there's 8 different screens or gauges that you can use. There's a bunch of different options you can pick from. I'll run through a few for you. RPM, speed, lambda, which is your AFR, gear, water, oil temp, brake accelerometer, position, G-meter, and like I said, a bunch of options that you can pick from. So pick the 8 that you want to use. You don't have to use all 8. You can go over here and change how many screens to pick from. And there's also units and such that you can change over here. You can change the color of the animation when you open and close the door. But just get all these set up the way you want. Hit right settings to save everything to the gauge. It only takes a few seconds, then we can unplug it and run down to the car. Now that we have the gauge configured to install it into the vent, we actually have to remove it from the car. So open up the vent, we're gonna stick 2 fingers in there and then pull it straight out, like that. We need to disassemble the vent that we just removed. To take this top portion off, there's just some tabs that we'll pry up on. Once we have 2 of them off, it'll come off like so. And then this outer ring needs to be removed as well. Again, some more tabs. And now we can remove the fins of the vent. And we're gonna take the harness or cable for the gauge, fish that through the back of the vent, and get that plugged into the gauge. It can only go in one way, so you shouldn't mess this up. And then we'll slide the gauge in. Don't worry about the orientation right now. We're gonna pop the ring back on to lock it into place. And this one as well. And now we can go over to the car, and once we have it installed, we can clock this so that it's the correct orientation. Back inside the car, before we reinstall the vent, we need to fish the OBD2 cable down inside the dash towards the footwell and then over to the transmission tunnel where you're gonna find the OBD2 port to plug this in. Once you have that cable sorted out, we're gonna plug it into the gauge and tuck it back down in there. And then we can slide the vent back into place and pop it in like so, and then we can clock the gauge so that it's in the correct orientation like that. We've got the gauge fully installed, so I'm gonna show you guys how it looks and how it works. Put the key in the on position. This is our first screen, so we've got the AFR. There's gonna be sensors on each side, so left and right, that you can long press to switch the screens. We've got the water and oil temp. This is the timing. We've got the RPM, miles per hour, gear. So if I go into reverse, you can see that. G-meter. This is the brake and throttle pedal position, and then back to the AFR. And then if I open my door, you can see that it has the red animation that we selected earlier. And that is pretty much it, guys. You can also change the color of the actual gauge to a red light if you want to go with that option. But now we just need to tidy up the cable that's dangling in my feet, and we are good to go. And that pretty much wraps it up, guys. An awesome part that integrates perfectly into the car. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. If you guys want to pick one of these up for yourself, the link is down in the description. Huge shout out to GeraldJustProjects for providing the gauge. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.